Alright, get this camera set up. Gotta get some more lead for the old pencil here. Had some extra time to kill today, so I figured I would throw on a stream here. Do some quick little drawings. Alright, well, before we get started, I kind of wanted to talk about the different pencils I've been using. So this is the old OG. I'm pretty sure that everybody that's ever held a pencil in their entire life has probably held one of these. I use this pencil when I need to get really dark shading in. The lead is it's pretty hard and it does a good job of not breaking. That's one of the downsides to using a mechanical pencil is it's got thinner lead, so it's more prone to breaking when you do got to lay down a lot of gray. So that's the primary reason why I do use this. I was using this for the longest period of time, just drawing with it. But as time has gone on, I've become more accustomed to using mechanical pencils, and I'll get into why that is here. So I was using this guy. So this is going to be the Pentel P207. It's fairly inexpensive mechanical pencil. My big beef with it is that it's really light. It's got a plastic body to it, so it doesn't have a lot of weight to it. So you kind of have to put more pressure down onto the paper to get a darker line. However, I do like this. It's beveled on all the edges, as you can see, so it is nicer to hold as opposed to this guy. So this is the Rapidmatic. This is the same company that makes the Rapidographs. This is more of a professional drafting style pencil. You can change the lead types that are in there. As you can see, just kind of spin it. So that way you know what's in there. Then as well, it has stainless steel, and it has stainless steel knurled grip. Really helps with your fingers from slipping, which this is you're prone to doing because it does have grooves there, but with it being plastic, it still slides around quite a bit. This is definitely a lot nicer, and then with it being metal, it adds a lot more weight to the pencil, so you don't have to put as much pressure down onto the paper. So this has kind of been my go-to as of late. It's not too heavy, it's not too light. I think it's perfect. Still has plastic, and then as well on the inside, because this is kind of a point of contention I see with pencils, is this inside. It is metal, some of it, but not all of it. Some people take offense to see if you can. This is a plastic insert. Some people want all metal. Some people do not. So I'm kind of indifferent about it. I prefer kind of this hybrid because again, I think it's like the perfect weight for me. So that's what I've kind of been using. Okay, so I have a an image pulled up of Shin Godzilla. I've been going down this Godzilla rabbit hole for the last couple weeks or so. I've always been a big fan of Godzilla and kaiju movies and all that good stuff, but uh, for me, the Showa era is where it kind of reigns supreme. Those original Godzilla movies, from the 50s going through the 70s. And I guess in terms of the modern era stuff, I don't like all of it, especially the MonsterVerse stuff. I really don't care for the American Godzilla a lot. But yeah, it's Godzilla's 70th anniversary this year, so I've just had Godzilla on the mind a lot lately, as one should. So with that being said, I figured that I would go ahead and draw one of my favorite modern Godzillas. That's going to be Shin Godzilla. If you're not familiar with Shin Godzilla, he's more or less of I guess you can kind of look at him like an elder god, is kind of what they're going for, just kind of an unstoppable being, more of an idea slash entity rather than a physical thing. Like, he is so strong beyond belief, there's really nothing we can do about it. Basically, he reaches, godlike proportions. So, very Lovecraftian, as you would. So, I figured he would be a good monster to kind of draw, at least get a portrait drawing in of, just a quick little practice run in today. All right. So I am the kind of artist that I lay down really rough pencils and then I do basically all of my refinement during the inking stages. So we're just going to be drawing our main man here with shooting some atomic breath out. And we'll use all the different kind of techniques that I like to use to kind of show energy, blast, liquid, whatever you want to call it. All right, so we got a head here. But if you wanted to kind of see what I was looking at for reference material, again, obviously, it's just Shin Godzilla and the same exact photo that was in the thumbnail. That's what I'm using for reference here. So like I said, do really rough pencils, and then I go back down with with my inking. Do a little bit refining for the pencils just to get the shape down. Shin Godzilla is definitely a weird shape. He's more elongated, I would say, than a traditional Godzilla. I'm not too sure how we should go about getting his mouth put in here. I think I'm gonna go for like this kind of shape. More squared off. This will be like his top here. Come around. All right, cool. So you can kind of see that will be kind of the top of his mouth there. I'm going to be coming around. This is kind of going to be his, I don't know what you want to call this, like the little skin flap sort of cheek. And then it's wrapped around like this. And we're coming up into it. Again, just real rough pencils. And then it kind of comes off like this, and it comes down. So I think that's going to be our basic shape for what we need. So that's something that I recommend to do with when you're drawing, is to look at sections in whatever you're referencing and just draw the shape of it and just kind of move to the next space. What you're looking at, you're probably like, what the hell is he even drawing? But once you actually start to break it down, you kind of understand a little bit what I'm doing here. So again, this is that cheek area, that, that little flap of skin, I guess that you would call it, that kind of hangs over. This is going to be the inside of his mouth that you can see because his atomic blast, see, it's coming out like this. So his atomic blast is coming out that way. This is going to be his bottom jaw, which we have to make way bigger. But again, just comes down to the refinement. So this is going to be his jaw, bottom jaw area, and he's got all his teeth coming up. And that kind of stretches up across with all that nasty skin and whatnot. And then it comes down, and then we got Homeboy's eyes up here. And his good little nose. And then this, of course, is going to come back quite a bit. It's more round, so it's like this. And once we get done with the rough penciling, I go in and I do just straight inking on top of that. That last Godzilla piece that I did, it took me a couple of hours, probably about 4 hours total. Did it across a couple of different days. But this is my favorite part of drawing, besides inking, is getting down more of the actual shape of what we're drawing, rather than the real basic. One of the things that I do recommend in terms of erasers, we're going to be looking at this Tombow mono eraser. These are Japanese made erasers. So these are high polymer erasers, like what Pentel would be in terms of a high polymer plastic. So it doesn't smudge, it does a good job of erasing. However, I think that with this, uh, the eraser itself, it's like when you feel it, it doesn't feel as soft or as squishy. This style of eraser, it definitely smudges it and it smears way worse than what this guy does. So I would recommend to use the Tombow mono erasers. Again, this is in a Japanese eraser, and it's something that a lot of the Japanese slash manga artists do use. And ever since I started using this eraser, it actually helped out a lot. The nice thing with the Tombow mono erasers, you can get the Mono Zero. So this is going to be a pencil eraser. So it just kind of comes out of this tube here. It works like like a mechanical pencil. And this helps, as you can see, it's literally just a little small tube of eraser. And it helps out a lot with getting small areas and whatnot, getting it erased. I was using a white gel pen a lot of the time to clean up those areas. And then once I had kind of discovered this little guy, this is where it's at. Okay, so we're just gonna go in and we're just gonna keep refining here. I prefer to use these sleeves on that, better to grip. Um, so a lot of this stuff that I do in the early stages with it making look, I guess more or less like a kid drawing, it's more for me to visualize on the paper what I'm going to be doing. Uh, I like to lay down really rough pencils. I refine it a little bit. I more try to get the shape of what I'm drawing, and I do a vast majority of my work in ink. So Homeboy's got a big ass mouth. His jaw comes down to about right here, I would say. And then it comes in. Perfect. Now that's a good shape to start. And his back comes up about back here. Awesome, and then, Homeboy's fins. The fins are always my favorite part of drawing Godzilla, just because you can have so much fun with it. There isn't any like rhyme or reason to it. You know what I mean? You can just kind of make them look however you want. Okay, so then let's go ahead and let's make his head a little bigger. So you want to make sure, especially with Shin Godzilla, that you don't end up making him look like a duck, because the way that his head is shaped, it's definitely easy to do so. So now this is kind of where you want to be, because the way that I look at Shin Godzilla, he kind of looks like a garter snake. You know what I mean? And up until he opens up his mouth and starts looking terrifying, but he kind of has like that rounded off head, that kind of like a garter snake has. Again, so this is just all of our nasty bits. This is going to be the inside of the mouth here, the jaw coming down. Got the blast coming out, so that needs to be more like this. Okay, so I think this is a good point at to which I can probably start to lay down some basic ink lines, and we'll start getting this bad boy in here. So the first type of pen that I like to use is actually this is a Uniball Vision. There are two different ones that I use. I use a fine and a medium point. Um, the medium point typically I use when I am doing lettering and things like that. The fine point is strictly when I am doing guidelines for my inking. The reason why I like this Uniball pen so much, it has archival ink in it, so you don't have to worry about it fading or anything like that. And it's also waterproof, so you can work on top of it with other inks and other media, and it's not going to smear or bleed anywhere. So you can literally buy these Uniball pens anywhere, Walmart, Target, you know, office supply stores, wherever. Everywhere sells these things, and to my knowledge, these are pretty much it's about the blackest ink that I can find. Sharpie does make a similar pen that it's like the S gels or whatever, but those that black isn't nearly as dark as this. So that's why I prefer to use this Uniball pen. So his head needs to be a little bit fatter on the back. That looks more like it. And then have his come off of that. All right, so let's go ahead and lay down our quick, just little guidelines here. And the thing is with the way that I do my inking, I use extremely bold uh, lines with brush pens. So you don't have to be extremely accurate when you are laying down these guidelines because they're just getting covered up. And then we need his little gills, little cheek thing. I don't know what you want to call it. let's go ahead and get his atomic blast going here. I think that's going to be our basic shape right there for our guy as this. So let's go ahead and erase with the penciling that is there and take a look at, just the basic lines that I have, and that way you guys can kind of see how I work. The one downside to using the Uniball Vision Pen is that it does use quite a bit of ink when you do lay it down. So my recommendation is to make sure that you blow on it quite a bit before you go do any erasing, or to go ahead and grab a paper towel or what have you, and just kind of pat down on the ink itself to keep it from bleeding or smearing on anything. Now I plan on for this to go for, I don't know, a couple hours, probably hour or two, just because we're just going to be doing extremely basic lines, and then we're going to go in and lay down all the detail. So this is just going to be a Micron 3. This is just kind of what I like to use when I'm laying down real fine lines. So this area here, for the most part, is going to be blacked out, so it's not really nothing that we're going to see. Again, I really don't know what you would call this. I guess it's like his cheek gill, whatever it is, that's going to get blacked out. So I'm just going to put checkers on here, just kind of a note to myself, hey, you need to black that completely out once we do get to that point. Is what I'm going to do with the teeth. I'm going to go in and lay down some of the fangs in here, so that way they look right. So when we go in and actually do the inking on it, they don't look wonky. Shin Godzilla has really distinct looking teeth because they're kind of like mangled and broken looking, as opposed to a lot of the other Godzillas where it looks like he has a dentist. My number one rule, especially when you're drawing monsters, is monsters don't go to the dentist, so why are you drawing them with good teeth? Homie's just got teeth stacked on teeth. Yeah, so that's one of the other fun things that I like about Shin Godzilla a lot, is he doesn't need to be perfect. You can kind of draw him however you want, especially with the teeth. His teeth are so jacked. You can just go in and do however you want them. We're not here to please Toho. We're just drawing to have fun, people. So kind of reminds me of like a more of like an angler fish. You know what I mean? So a lot of fun. Yeah, Shin Godzilla is probably my favorite modern Godzilla. Uh, the Showa era is probably my go-to when you're looking at, classic Godzilla. But in terms of modern Godzilla, I don't care for American Godzilla. So Shin Godzilla, that's right up my alley. It's very Lovecraftian when you think about it. Very like, how are we going to stop this dude? He's an eldritch god pretty much at this point. Like, what the hell are we going to do to even, stop him? Kind of like that idea, and I really hope that Toho kind of allows them to make a sequel because they set it up for a sequel, and I think they should. Unfortunately, I think with the popularity of Minus One, that's probably the direction that they're going to go because of how big that movie got, especially internationally. So I don't foresee them really touching Shin Godzilla, but they really should. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and we're going to start putting down our lines for our cheeks and just the nastiness that he has in his mouth here. I don't even know what you would want to call it. Just again, just like his nasty look. Um, Kind of has like energy coming off the back of him here in like this area. So we will kind of cordon that off. Just make cool little designs with it. Kind of look like veins. All right. And we're going to black out a majority of this stuff. So I like to work a lot like Mignola or Toth or something like that, to where a lot of this stuff is going to be negative space and blacked out. So a lot of the detail isn't going to be there when you're looking at Shin Godzilla and all of his skin and things like that. So that's why I think it's going to be more of an interesting drawing than what typically you see people do with Shin Godzilla. Yeah, so when I'm looking at this reference material, and it's the same thing that was in the photo and the thumbnail. Right here, up along this jaw, doesn't have any teeth from what it looks like. Uh, it could just be because it's just exposed out from the blast. You really can't see it. Nonetheless, my number one rule in comic books: if you're unsure or you don't know, black it out. When in doubt, black it out. That's the way to go. So that's what we'll end up doing here. All right, let's go ahead and let's grab, kind of show you guys what I'm working with here. I have a there's a myriad of things that we're going to be using today, and eventually we'll pull out the trusty toothbrush and ink and lay down some spray for the energy blast coming out of the atomic breath. All right, for starters is what this is. Let me go grab something real quick. So I'm standing at my actual drawing desk, or standing at my office desk and not my drawing desk. So kind of out of my element a little bit, but so this stuff here is correction fluid. So this would be used, to for whiteout essentially. The thing with whiteout and what makes this better than your traditional whiteout that you buy at like Office Max, Target, wherever, that turns yellow, and it turns yellow extremely fast, actually. Like, we're talking 30 minutes or less. When you have it on the paper, it's definitely a more yellow of a tone than what's on the paper. And as time goes on, that just gets worse and worse. This stuff here, it has a very strong chemical smell to it. It is correction fluid. They only manufacture this stuff in Japan, and you typically have to order it through special websites. Jet Pens is where I order these through. This stuff stays white, and it will stay white forever. The nice thing with these two different bottles is, so this bottle here, it has a fatter nib on it, so you can lay down thicker lines and corrections with it, as opposed to this. This is going to be more of a pen style, so you can see that it has a metal nib on the end, so you can do more fine drawing with it, and then as well corrections with it. The thing that I like to use this style of whiteout for is a lot of comic book artists, they will lay down, like when they're drawing hair and whatnot, they will lay down the blacks and then they'll put in the detail with the black. Is what I like to do is I black everything out and then I use this to white out or highlight the details with it. It saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of effort, and the stuff dries extremely fast. So especially too when I'm using it to get like a splatter effect with it, I will use this correction fluid as opposed to a white acrylic paint because of the dry time that's on it. As soon as it hits the paper, it's dry like that. So it literally has zero dry time to it. So it does help out a lot because if you do use paint, as you guys know, the shit takes forever for it to dry up. So recommend to use the Pentel correction fluid. And again, you can only get this from like specialty websites. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go in and we're going to start laying down the thicker lines for our outline. And then we'll go in and start laying our thicker blacks. So is what this pen is. This is the same brand of pen that I'm using for my eraser. This is Tombow. They're a Japanese company. This is the Futosuke brush pen. This is the hard point brush pen. So specifically, this is the reason why I use this one is because it's very similar to like a felt pen, like a Pentel would make or something like that. But this actually has bristles on it, and it's really hard to tell. So you can actually press down harder onto the paper, and it works exactly like a brush pen would. However, it doesn't break like a felt pen would, so it's extremely strong. So that's why I would recommend to use these. Has archival ink as well. So let's just go ahead and start putting down our outline here. And the harder that you press on it, the thicker that the line is going to be. We're going to use a thicker line when we get towards the back of his spine and the back of his head, because you do want variation in your line weight. You can't have the same the same weight of line going throughout the entirety of the figure because it's not going to have any dynamic to it. So back here, we'll get a little thicker, and we'll hit it up with the brush pen on the rest of the way down. So you can see I'm giving it a dynamic line. It gets thinner and thicker as it goes. And techniques like this just take time and practice. So this is going to be try to be as explanatory as possible here. So this is just going to be a Pigma Micron brush pen. It'll adjust here. See, it says BR on the top. So this brush pen, the main reason why I like it is because it does have fine bristles like a normal like paintbrush would have. So when these things start to dry out, give me a second. Actually, I had it sitting right beside me. So when these things start to dry out, I mark them down. So that way hey, this thing is starting to dry out, and you start getting a dry brush effect on it. When we go to actually use it, I'll show you kind of what that looks like. And so you kind of want to save these while they're laying around because they still have use out of them, even though the ink in them isn't going to be as as wet or as good to go. This one is brand new, so it's going to lay down some real thick lines. So you can see it's just that is a fat boy compared to the other ones. And since we're just kind of on the subject, we got a couple of people hanging out in here. So on the topic of brush pens, this is going to be the same company, Sakura, that makes these Pigma Sakura. They're a Japanese company that makes microns. This is the same company. However, these are different style of pens. So these are what were these called? Um, Architect pens. That's what these are. So these are what that's what they're categorized as anyways, are architect brush pens. The difference between them and this micron brush pen is that this brush pen, it is actually like a thick, it's not, they're not bristles, you know what I mean? It's just one piece, like how a standard marker would be. The reason why I like to use this is because it has a little bit of a thicker line and it's a little bit more forgiving than what this is. You really can't get your dry brush effect because it doesn't have bristles on this style of brush, but you can lay down thicker blacks and it's a little bit more forgiving because of that, as opposed to this, because it does have those bristles in it. You can get, missing spots and whatnot on your lines if you don't have a lot of practice with this. And we're looking at this guy. This is the same thing. As you can see, this is a BB, not an MB. So this is big bold, and it's just a thick guy. So just in terms of the size comparisons, you can see they are quite the difference. So like this guy here, this is the fattest brush that I use personally when I'm inking or drawing. I think that these pens are a little pricey compared to other ones. I want to say they're almost $3 a piece. So considering you can buy, an entire pack of microns for like $12, you can only buy about three or four for the same price as opposed to a six pack of microns. So they are a little bit more expensive, but they do have their uses. I don't use them all the time, so having two or three of these kind of on standby is more than enough. Considering that his little cheek, you can kind of see light kind of coming through it. It's not completely blacked out. We're gonna have to try to do some finagling, I think, with correction fluid. I think is going to be the best way to do this. Um, yeah, so let's just go ahead and black this section out. And again, this has uh, light ink in it. That's why I have this marked off as blue. So that's why the ink on it is kind of a lighter color. So that way you can get that effect. All right. So that's going to be his little cheek slash gill. Again, I really don't know what you would want to call it. Let's go in here and get some teeth action going. And the thing with Shin Godzilla, again, that I love so much is you don't have to draw his teeth perfect because he's missing teeth. They're real thin. Some of them are broken. So you have a lot of freedom in terms of what you can do with the character. It's not like you have to be to a T with it. Like, for instance, if you guys are familiar with the channel, I'm a big Space Ghost guy. Space Ghost is one of those characters that I think you have to draw him very specific. Have to kind of draw him how Toth would have drawn him, or he kind of comes off weird and wonky looking. Steve Rude, he draws the best Space Ghost, in my opinion. But when Space Ghost is wrong, you can get him really wrong. He's kind of has this weird barreled chest, and not a lot of people nail that. So he's a weird character to get. So like I said, he's not like your Shin Godzilla here, where you have a lot of freedom creation freedom to kind of draw them however you want. All right, this section kind of comes over here. This is all going to be black. And then this here is going to be his cheek nastiness. I love the way that his eyes look. This Shin Godzilla reminds me of like an anglerfish, I guess would be like the best way to describe how he looks to me. Just very like deep, dark, Marianas Trench style of creature. Just nothing would ever live anywhere else but there. Just the depths of the ocean. And I just love that the way there's the black around the eyes looks. I'm trying to decide on where I should draw the eyes. So a lot of people, when they're drawing figures in general, they like to get the face down first, and then do like eyes, nose, so on and so forth. I'm the complete opposite. I actually like to work from the ground up. So his nose kind of comes off to a point here, where his nostril kind of comes out. That would be like his nostril hole, and then just all this goofy, detailing and whatnot. And then it looks like it kind of comes up to about here. So I think it needs to sit about right here, is where his eye needs to be. And then back up here, it's probably where that should be. And I think that's a good point, because when we go to black all that out, it'll look correct. Let me go in and black out all this stuff here. The old Gartner snake looking Shin Godzilla, until you start getting in all that goofy looking stuff. He's a cute little man, isn't he? Oh man, it's too funny. All right, so I think we'll go ahead and we'll start putting in some of that nasty detail and whatnot. Is what I do to start getting all that detail in with Shin Godzilla. I just go in and I just lay down just crazy lines. When you look at, especially just any Godzilla in general, there isn't any really rhyme or reason to how his skin texture looks. It does have like a vertical pattern to it, but it's mainly just a lot of wrinkles, right? So you can kind of make them however you want. There isn't any rhyme or reason to how you really need to do them, especially when we're looking at Shin Godzilla, right? He's just a nasty looking, like bloodborne kind of looking creature, right? So make him look nasty and make him look gross. He doesn't need to be perfect. Just kind of gonna have some, scales and whatnot kind of on him. Real basic lines, and then we'll just keep laying lines on top of lines on top of lines on top of lines until we get to where we want it to be. Keep away from the head, just because, well, his mouth needs to come out a little more, it looks like. Open up a little bit too. So we'll go ahead and fix that. Black all that out. Gonna lay random lines on top of random lines on top of random lines until we kind of get the texture that we're looking for. I think this is the easiest way to nail Godzilla's skin is to do this. One of the other techniques that I've done with to get Godzilla's skin, hold on a second. To actually use one of these, use a beauty blender, believe it or not. So take a beauty blender and you have to make sure that it is. I'm trying to open this, try to open this damn thing up, but it's taped shut. Thing with the beauty blender, you have to make sure that it is a extremely dense sponge. You can't use like a normal sponge that you would use to like clean or anything like that. You do your dishes with. Um, Dip it in ink. Once it's dipped in ink, you want to dab it onto like a paper towel or a piece of paper, whatever you have to the side of it, so that way the ink on the actual application sponge isn't as drenched. Once you start dabbing that on, you get a really cool effect out of their skin. If give me a quick second, I can go grab a drawing and I'll show you guys what I mean by that. Just give me like 30 seconds. All right, so this is a Venom drawing that I had done. I don't know, like a month or two ago. So this is the effect that I was kind of talking about when you're using this blender sponge. So again, you just dip it into your ink, whatever ink that you're using, and then you want to, once you have that kind of put onto the actual sponge, you want to transfer that onto like a piece of paper, um, piece of paper towel, whatever, so that way it's not as soaked. And then you just kind of dab it onto here. The way to get the actual texture, and we could probably get this to show up on the screen, there's actual texture on the actual paper itself. Is what I do is once I dab it onto there, if you guys go back and look, I actually made a short when I drew this originally. If you go back and you watch it, I am taking my finger and I am rubbing extremely hard onto the paper after I dab it onto there. It's kind of ripping off a extremely thin layer of paper, so you get a really cool texture on the actual skin of whatever you're drawing to kind of give it that nasty, wet xenomorph kind of look is what I kind of look for. And then same thing with Shin Godzilla. Their skin is very similar to like to Venom, so this is why I wanted to use this as an example. All right. So you've got here. What's up, Carpet Dunk? All right. Fun stuff, people. We're gonna go ahead and keep laying down some lines on top of lines on top of lines to get the texture that we're kind of looking for. If you guys want, we can get real crazy and we can start laying down start laying down some ink, and I can actually show you what I was doing with the Venom technique with the skin. I actually had learned that technique from watching a very specific YouTube video, and I'm trying to remember what it was exactly. It was There was an interview with the creator of Kamen Rider. So Kamen Rider, and again, if you guys are a fan of the channel, you should know that Kamen Rider is like my all-time favorite like Japanese property. The creator for Kamen Rider had mentioned that that's what he was using to get the texture on like the backgrounds of like mountains and things like that. Uh, Let me show you. So I don't have Cayman Rider beside me right now, but I do have a copy of this Golgo 13. So this artist, Teiko Sakai, he does something very similar on his backgrounds. You can kind of see here there's a weird spongy sort of texture that's going on. So he's laying that down and then he's doing lines after the fact. So it's kind of like a haze. You can do like the technique that I was telling you guys about. You can also use like an alcohol wash to get that technique, to kind of smear the ink, or as well, I can show you guys another technique. Just give me a second. Okay, so when you're looking at to get the effect like you have smoke or how I was talking about how it looks like it's smeared, has something is in motion, I guess is the way to look at it. So this is going to be a really simple trick, and after I show it to you, you're going to be like, why didn't I think of that before? Because of how stupid and easy it is. So you want to lay down like a real thick black area. You can take a sponge, paper towel, ink, sorry, paper towel, toilet paper, whatever, it doesn't matter. I just use my hand and you simply just do this, right? You just literally just rub it off. And then the more that you rub it, the more that it'll smear, the more that it'll become cloudy. And then as well, you can see with like that Venom texture that I was doing with Venom's skin, the more pressure that you apply to your paper, you start to get that look. So that's how you do that, and it's literally just wiping it and then just putting a little bit of elbow grease into it to get that effect. Um, so that's what I do. Uh, the best way to do it is I use these Pilot parallel pens. I will lay down like the line, like the you have your guidelines still on your basic drawing, and then I just follow along, with whatever line it is, and you can get it real thin. And even when it's thin like that, you can still just take your finger and just see what I mean, and then you get that cool effect. Um, I had done another Godzilla drawing. It was like the last 2, 3 shorts ago that I had done. So if you want to look at that, you can. I had done this on the side of a mountain to kind of give that effect, like there was like dirt or rain or whatever over time. I kind of have run down the side of the mountain. Just a good way to get that effect. Sharing all the little ins and outs. Gonna keep laying down lines here to get that nasty skin texture. And my goal with this Shin Godzilla is not to make him a one for one, from the movie. I kind of want to have a little bit of creational liberties to it, and I want to make him kind of look more like an alien. You know what I mean? Kind of like a mix between Godzilla and like a xenomorph, I guess. And again, just random lines. They don't have to be perfect. Especially when drawing, I think in the comics community, people get so hung up on things looking perfect, um, and get so hung up on everything being where it needs to be, things like that. I come from a hardcore, punk background, DIY background, and I'm very much of the mind that there's a lot of beauty in things being messy, or things kind of being lo-fi, and just strictly getting your thoughts down on paper and showing that thought is going to have more emotion, I think, in the work than sitting and meticulously uh, thinking over your work, how you can make it better, and things like that. Just kind of, let your heart do the talking of your drawing. And I think that if you allow your heart and your personality to actually show on the paper rather than your skill, I think that speaks to more people. You know what I mean? It's not like Andy Warhol was the most groundbreaking artist on the face of the planet, but his art had an aesthetic to it, and people enjoyed that, and that's why that's where he got where he is, or was, I should say. Long story short, people, is drawing should be fun. It shouldn't feel like a task or a hassle. And if you do drawing for a living and it does feel like a hassle, then maybe you shouldn't be in that profession. Okay, so I think we got this, at least body area, in a starting point to where the skin looks decent. So we'll go ahead and we'll start getting like this area to where like his lungs, I guess, are showing, is the best way to describe it. Uh, what do I want to use? Let's go with this. So again, with the dry brush effect that you can get with this style of pen, I've had this pen for probably 6+ months and it's still going. It's still really dry, but it has its uses. You get really cool effects with it. Okay, so we need to lay down a thicker line here. So let's go ahead and do that. Cool. And then we have to fix this. Go back and run a correction on that. And that's the cool thing with working with ink, is if you need to make it bigger, you can. So you can always go back on that kind of stuff. And then we will need to make that kind of look nasty. So let's go back in with the Micron 3. And as well, if anybody wanted to chat, had any questions or anything like that, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them, sit and talk with you guys. I literally have nothing going on today, so we're going to be drawing this for quite a while, to be honest with you. Literally doing nothing but laundry, so. Okay. Trying to decide what I want to do next. I think we're going to lay down his spikes on his back, and then we will start to mess around with his atomic breath a little bit, which that will be extremely messy. So you guys can look forward to that, I guess. Show you a little bit of technique with how I do that. Um, so let's go ahead, because there are different layers of his spikes. In the back, we will lay down a thicker line for the back spikes, and then we'll have some in the foreground as well. Favorite part about drawing our main man here is the spikes. I love drawing the spikes. And the thing that I can tell you guys right away that I would recommend doing is when you are drawing Godzilla's spikes, is to try to refrain from it looking like electricity. You know what I mean? Like a cheap like spiky sort of like something's getting shocked. I see that a lot online, and it looks off and it looks cheap. You know what I mean? Same thing with his teeth. Um, Godzilla is a monster. He's not a beautiful creature per se. So my thing is, golden rule is if you're drawing a monster, they have to have fucked up teeth. If they don't have fucked up teeth, then why is it a monster? Like what monster do you know goes to the dentist? You know what I mean? So okay, cool. So we got some of those laid down. We actually want some of these lines to be a little thicker because we're going to be laying stuff down in front of it. Cool. Now this is going to be a micron number 3. We're going to put some down in front of them here. I think we'll do some spikes down here. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, dumbass, how are you going to make that show because you're doing black over black? Well, that's why we have this. So you see a lot of techniques that I like to use. Again, this is something that I take from Mignola. I will do, blacks on top of whites, whites on top of blacks. So the line will have a white line, and then it'll also have that black line as well. This is pretty much like my go-to thing that I like to use. This is going to be, again, as you can see, the Sakura brand. They just make good shit, so I recommend to use pretty much anything Sakura makes. This is going to be a white gel pen. So what I like to do is I kind of just test it on my palm or like my finger or whatever, because a lot of the times I use so many different pens and whatnot. Not all of them are waterproof or anything like that. So when you do use it, like the white on the end will be like grayish because of it was touching black ink glass. So you kind of just want to like rub it off a little bit to kind of freshen it up. So you can see what I mean there. Just do a little touch up with the white. And we will probably end up laying down the black in the background. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to use the old Pilot Parallel. This is like my go-to for when I'm laying down blacks. You can see this thing is a mess and it needs to get cleaned, but it's what happens when you use stuff all the time and don't take the time to actually sit and clean your supplies properly. But it's all good. The thing that I did when I refilled this last, I put a little bit of water inside the ink. Because I use Higgins Black Magic, and I feel that the Higgins, it's a little too thick for like to feed through the teeth on this pen or the nib on this pen. So when I'm refilling it, and there is a video that I did of this actually, and it's called like how to save money with this pen, or something like that. If you guys are interested in seeing it, but basically this is just a calligraphy pen, and I use it for pretty much everything. And you can refill these pens. So that way you don't have to continuously buy cartridges. You don't have to continuously buy pens. It saves you money, and it's good for, you're not throwing plastic continuously in a landfill. So anyways, when I was refilling it, I added just a little bit of water, and it helped out so much with the ink working with me, and with it not constantly getting jammed up or clogged. Cool thing with these calligraphy pens, you can lay down really thin, accurate lines, and you can lay down real thick blacks with it. So it's just a good universal tool to kind of have in your toolkit. It's something that you can reach for pretty much any situation that you'd run into as an artist. So I recommend to pick up a pack of these if you already don't have them. You can get a 6 pack from Jet Pens that are varying sizes. So it starts at what is it, a point 3, I think, is the thinnest that they have, and then it goes up to a 6. And when you do buy them, they come with refillable cartridges. You get a black cartridge and a red cartridge to start. And I keep red in my real thin ones, and then blacks I just refill myself. And I keep it in the thicker ones because I mainly use it, again, to fill blacks like we're doing here. Um, But the red ink, it's not waterproof, so that's something that you have to keep in mind if you do end up buying one of those pens, is to make sure that you're laying down anything red last, or you're not laying anything else on top of it, or else it's gonna smear. Um, I put up a couple of shorts, like I did an Akira short where I used the red ink on there. I did I think it's called like Square Up. I did a short recently where I drew like a little ninja dude, kind of like standing in a pool of blood. He has like blood all over his hands. That's another one that I used that red ink on. It looks pretty cool. See if we got any comments or anything here. Whoops. I smeared it a little bit, didn't I? Classic. Classic stuff. That's all good. Had to go grab some paper towel here. Kind of got messy a little bit, folks. And we're gonna have to lay down the old correction fluid to fix that. Wasn't paying attention, but that's why you've got this stuff, so you can correct it. Hey, how's it going, Derek? Yeah, just filling out the old English. Man, like these pens are honestly like they're great. The biggest downside to them is just the maintenance, but you don't have to clean them super often, but yet you have to do it enough to where it's kind of a nuisance. But it is what it is. Let's fill in the rest of this. I'm gonna get a thicker pen. I was I'm actually in the process, just kind of giving you guys a little bit of inside baseball, I guess. I've been working on getting a print set ready. I have a couple of ideas of drawings that I think would probably speak to some people. Um, if you guys are kind of familiar, I guess, with my channel or just my artwork in general, I like to lean more into the cartoony side of things. I'm a big fan of cartoons and whatnot, so I do the Beavis and Butthead series. I do the Ren and Stimpy stuff. I'm a big fan of sorry, my mind is blanking right now for whatever reason. Craig McCracken, like he's one of my top artists. So Powerpuff and Dexter's Lab and all that kind of stuff. It really speaks to me. So I was kind of thinking about getting a print set together with like some cartoon characters. Maybe do like a little animated Beetlejuice guy, a little Hellboy action possibly. Um, and then I was going to have them ready for Eddie Peacon actually for this year's PiscorCon, but kind of up in the air if that's going to happen this year. So we will see. If that does happen, it's going to be in the summer sometime, and I hope I'll be able to take off work to attend that. But that was kind of my goal. Oh yeah, for sure. I do like Rocco a lot, Derek, but um, my thing with I guess like those Nickelodeon cartoons, I think that a lot of them didn't age necessarily very well. Not because of like the subject matter or anything like that. Um, I think that they're very stuck in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like they only work because it came out in the 90s. It's very much like the same thing with Ren and Stimpy. The reason why it works is because it's very much a 90s thing. Like it wouldn't work in any other time. You know what I mean? Um, as opposed to a lot of those Cartoon Network cartoons, especially the Hanna-Barbera stuff, that stood the test of time. Even like Dexter's Lab, that's considered Hanna-Barbera, 90s Hanna-Barbera. So it's like all that stuff to me, I think holds up a lot better as opposed to some of that, Nickelodeon stuff. There's a reason why everybody was fighting to work at Hanna-Barbera, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, into the 90s, because that was the place to be. And then, once Turner bought him out, that was kind of the end of that. All right, so I think we might do some more spike action since we're kind of drawing them here. Got to flip back to my image here so I can see what I'm looking at. Hell yeah. So again, my favorite thing about drawing Godzilla is just the fins. So you can just make him look however you want. Oh, you want a Zorak print? Yeah, I mean, I think that the Zorak would be a good thing to do. My thing is especially with like Space Ghost stuff, it's like a lot of it has to be colored, and I think that I would rather do just straight black and white prints. So I mean, if that's something that people are interested in, definitely it's what I would do. But yeah, it's kind of like thinking like a five print set, and have it have it good to go for the summer. And I was gonna have a table and whatever ready to go at Eddie Pecan. Um, I've been speaking with the Piscor family a little bit, back and forth and whatnot. So we'll see. Who knows if they're actually going to be doing a con this year? Hopefully that they do get to actually meet everybody finally. Uh, let's do let's do a couple more little spikes on them. We're gonna do them in the back, I think. So we turn our Godzilla to actually look more like a Godzilla, not a garter snake. uh, yeah, we're gonna stop messing with those, and let's go ahead and lay in more of the blacks on the back of the fins. Do you draw at all though, Derek, or are you just strictly just like a fan of like art? Putting our blacks on the back one here to give it some dimension. Um, in my opinion, the guy that nails getting dimension right is Todd McFarlane. Um, he knows how to make an image look really cool without it being super complex. You know what I mean? So my example when you're talking about Todd is uh, Spider-Man, for example. Spider-Man will be in the background. He'll have his hand in the front and then shooting web towards the camera of the actual screen. So you have camera, uh, web, hand, arm behind that, and then his body behind that. So you have extra layers of dimension just from the one figure, as opposed to constantly like layering. Oh, here's a building, here's a car, here's this, here's that. Just creating actual depth and layers off of just one figure itself. I gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if you knew this or not, Derek, or how much you're in the weeds, but with the parallel pens, you can just refill these just on your own. You kind of just have to like flick open the little flap that's on the ink cartridges and just fill your ink in there with that. You can buy an adapter for these. The adapter makes it way easier to refill, and then as well, the adapter um, it holds more ink, so you don't have to constantly like refill it as much. So if you are using these more often than not, I would probably recommend to buy one of those adapters. So that I know Sean Crystal, he uses the adapters for these. I do not, so it's just kind of like I guess a preference thing. But for if you are using it often, like I said, I would probably recommend to pick one of those up. I have so many of those different pins that I just constantly change the sizes and whatnot that I'm using, so I don't have to refill them constantly. I probably have to do it like once every 2 weeks per pin, so it's not like it's terrible. I actually just had a order of books from Dave show up yesterday. I ordered a run of the original 5 issues of Punisher. So that was a fun little buy. He cut a deal for me on it, so can't pass it up when Dave's out here slinging deals. Like that dude's gonna make me go bankrupt. Yeah, I'm in the process as well of like working on my own comic. I'm kind of up in the air on what I actually want to do with it. I'm not entirely sure if I want it to be like a one shot, if I want it to be multiple issues, if I wanted if I was even thinking about possibly going like the newspaper route. So my thought process behind it was because really nobody is doing this, so I was trying to think outside the box a little bit. Try to bring back like the old newspaper strip days, to where people would go get their daily newspaper and they'd be excited to read their Charlie Browns or whatever that would be new for the day, and kind of implement that, but in the form of like a short. So basically, kind of like have an ongoing story for my characters that I have, and just do like a daily comic YouTube short to where basically like I draw it and then I just kind of pan across the drawing in the form of a short. So that way everybody kind of gets up in the morning, they pull up their phone, and then boom, like there's the quote unquote web comic, but it would be in the form of a short. So that way it's just kind of like an automatic play and people click on it and then it's done within, 30 seconds, if not less than that. So they're quick little bite-sized things. And my big inspiration behind doing it like that is actually Zippy, big Bill Griffith fan. So I was kind of like, oh, maybe I could do more of like a traditional cartoonist style and do like a daily, newspaper strip sort of thing. But those are just kind of thoughts for now. But I'm definitely getting the ball rolling on that stuff. So you guys got a lot to look forward to from me. I was working with somebody here in local to my town who was the art director at Kitchen Sink Comics for almost 20 years. I think he was there for like 15, 16 years. Pretty much during their glory days and then into their shit days into the 90s. So he's taught me, a lot, I guess, about comics, not just the actual making of the comic, but like the application of art in the comic itself. I haven't studied with him in a couple months, but a lot of what he had taught me has really stuck with me a lot. So okay, I think that we got the spikes in a pretty good spot now, at least to start with. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep working on. Hmm, I kind of think I might want to do his breath next to kind of get it out of the way. Um, it's gonna be pretty messy though. That's the thing. I'm gonna have to go grab some paper towel because I'm gonna have to cover up my desk. I'm not at my drawing desk right now. I'm actually at my desk. Um, I don't want ink to get all over my stuff. So just give me a second. I'm just gonna grab some paper towels so I can lay it down and get get doing what we're doing. All right. So we got our paper towel. I just gotta go over to my drawing desk here and grab my inks. Okay, so this is gonna be the old trusty Black Magic Higgins, and then just an old little toothbrush here. And then as what I like to use, I will grab a bottle cap and I'll fill my ink up inside of this. It has that little ledge on the inside so the ink doesn't run everywhere. It's easy to clean out. And then plus on this flip side, I will use correction fluid on the top, as you can see, and I'll rub my toothbrush off of that. I'll flick the toothbrush onto my paper, because the dry time on correction fluid is so fast, you kind of have to like flick it on, rub it, and then, flick it onto your paper, or it's going to dry super quick. So this is a good technique to do that, is to get it onto like a little piece of plastic. So let's go ahead, because we're going to be flinging some ink here. Let's move the drawing out of the way. Let's go ahead and fill this up. So you don't need a lot. You need more than that. Boom. Just going to be more than enough ink that we're going to need. So what you want to do then is take your toothbrush and then you just want to stick it in your ink, and whatever direction you want to fling it, you want this to go the opposite way. So, think about however you'd be, flinging your toothbrush. So then you have your drawing, and you just want to get the ink on the brush here. Okay. Just want to make sure that you're flicking it in the correct direction, or it's going to look wrong. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. So now we got that down. So what we need to do is a little technique, so you don't get it everywhere, is just to pat it down. And then the rest of this stuff, it's okay. It doesn't really matter, because it's gonna get, like, this stuff up here is just gonna get corrected, so it doesn't make a difference. But that is how I like to draw the atomic breath. Is you just spray down, you put down your ink off the toothbrush, and then you just you smear your ink in the direction that the energy would be going. So that's what you need to do. And we'll have to black out the rest of that, but it's no big deal. Just go ahead and grab a brush. That way we can get that in there. And that's the thing with Shin Godzilla. If you actually look at his, his atomic breath, it's a lot more thin than it is anything. So kind of have to make it look like that. I just have to go clean my brush real quick. Just give me a second. Back in it, ladies and gentlemen. We might have to lay down some more ink, possibly, once we get a little further into the drawing, but who knows? We're just playing it by ear right now. So let's go ahead and put down some more skin texture for our main man here. I think that we should probably work on his little gill area sort of thing that he has going on. And then I think as well, we could probably expand his mouth out a little bit. His cheek part is still a little too small. So again, that's like one of the benefits that we're laying down so much thick black there in that area. It really doesn't make a difference. My hand's kind of wet. Because I think we really want this to be more like this shape. And then we want all of this to be blacked out. And that's like the proper what we're looking at. And then his skin kind of is all nasty right here. So I think that's where we kind of need to be. And we'll go in and lay down that thicker black once we get to that point. Let's go ahead and do his eyeballs. The old trusty circle guide. Now I think we're going to go with like this size, and then we will elongate it. So then that it looks proper. Because his eye kind of comes up to a point like that, and then it looks like it comes over to the side a little bit too. Yeah, that looks starting to look a lot more like Shin. And let's go ahead and just put down, I'm going to erase this so we can see what we're doing better. Let's do his pupils. It's probably too big. Gonna do this in pencil first, just kind of troubleshoot to see how it looks before I lay down the rest of it. So I think that is too big. Go ahead and pull out the old Tombow 0. So this is probably the size that we need to go for, is like this. Yeah, that's right. Real small. let's go ahead and black it out. Gotta pull up my image again. Just gonna fill in this black. Got a couple people in here. What's everybody's favorite Godzilla movie? Godzilla design, whatever. Because maybe some people might like the Marvel version of Godzilla. Some people might like Showa era. You name it. It's kind of curious to see what everybody likes. Because Godzilla is one of those things that people have their opinions on. Then we'll get a little... Ooh! Do a little bit of a white highlight in here. Give his eye a little bit of life behind it. All right, so I'm starting to think that we're kind of getting there now. The pupil is the eye is a little too big, so we're gonna shrink that down for sure. Let me grab my circle guide. His actual eye is just a little too big, so we're gonna shrink that down. Probably 2 sizes, maybe 3. Let's do 3 sizes. Much better. Stop and take a drink here. Put down some more white. I think that is good. I'm gonna start putting in some more detailing on the skin. Get that nonsense going here. We should probably black out this. Because a lot of that is just straight black. kind of need that vein detail to stay in so we don't lose that. And let's just go ahead and black this stuff out. So yeah, the ink's a little too wet. Doesn't like the gel pen. But this is also something that I like to do is I will specifically put down black and then white on top of that with a gel pen to get a scratchy sort of texture on the white, and it adds kind of a gray tone. Sorry that the camera's not focused there, but it kind of adds a gray tone. So I keep wiping my gel pen off on my finger because when I'm doing it on the ink here, it's turning grayish. So I'm trying to keep it the same gray tone throughout without it getting super dark. And then we'll go in and put down thicker blacks so that way it doesn't look as weird with it just being on the side of his body. We got to start putting in actual shape and whatnot into his structure. So this is just going to be mostly just straight black for the most part. Thank you. Yeah, we're just gonna keep working at it. Got nothing but time to kill today, people, so just hang out and watch me draw. Sit and chat, talk comics, movies, music, whatever you guys want to do. Here to have some fun. Probably should start detailing his face a little bit. Be his little nosy, which comes up kind of over the side a little bit, which is all good. We'll be able to fix that. The old power of the correction pen. And it's like it was never there. This stuff dries extremely quick, but I'm just going to be working around it, so I don't want to accidentally wipe it off. Okay. Let's get some more teeth in on our main man here. Let's get a big old chunky tooth in the front. Let's do this, it's like weird stretchy skin looking stuff. Just a nasty looking thing, isn't he? And we'll have to black out behind it. So that way you can actually see what's going on. So let's do black here for his little chin area. Let's just do some stretchy bits across. And we'll black out this one since it's kind of like hanging freely. It's really not attached to anything. It's just going from, I don't know, chin to throat, I guess. Just gonna keep blacking this out. I think that might be a good spot for that. And then we gotta keep doing this here. We should probably get this. This is just nasty looking here. And since the blast is the color that it is, we need to lay down way more white than what's actually on here. So we're going to do that. Gonna grab my trusty toothbrush here. All right, so what we're gonna do is, I should probably honestly use paint. Mainly for the reason that I think that if we were to use correction fluid, the amount of time that I have to work isn't nearly as much. Like the correction fluid will literally dry instantly, pretty much. So we will try to do it with this, and then we'll just have to work around the actual paint. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm putting paint on the bottle cap and then putting it onto a toothbrush, and then we're going to spray it like what I did with this. Lay down a paper towel. Then is what I like to do. There we go. Hey, what's up, Charlie? So that gets our kind of our blast, and then as well, it gives that that illusion of there's more heat in the back, because when you look at fire, right, it starts like hot blue at the center, and then it gets oranger from there. So it's kind of the thought process behind that is that the color will get darker as it moves. Yeah, we're just going to be sitting and hanging out and just doing this Godzilla drawing until I'm pretty much done with it. Doing nothing else today, so we got plenty of time to hang out and chill. If you guys got any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go in on some more detailing on his face. I think that we should just continue doing like what I was doing. Just random patterns. And we'll just lay lines on top of lines, on top of lines, on top of lines to get the desired texture we're looking for Godzilla's skin. And down here, we're just going to be laying out more and more lines. So we're going to be doing here for a couple more minutes. We do have to black out a lot of areas still. A lot of work to be done still, folks. But like I said, that's how I like to work. I'm a type of artist that I don't put a lot of like thought behind really what I'm drawing per se. I just like to go in and go wherever the pen takes me. People get too wrapped up in it looking 100% professional. They get too wrapped up in thinking what other people might think about their drawing. At the end of the day, we're all here to have fun. We're all here to learn. So, this isn't a place where you're, you're going to get judged for your ability. And I actually encourage everyone to start drawing if you don't draw and you have an interest in it. And you definitely can, use this place/channel as a spot to get information, chat with other artists, people who might be getting started. You name it. I cover comic books here, but we do movie talk and music talk and whatever. I kind of wanted to treat this channel more of like a outlet for me, for you guys to, I guess meet me and who I am and what I do, not necessarily to, to teach people art or anything like that. I just have so many interests in life, and I feel like that I'm knowledgeable on a lot of areas uh, that some people might not be. So, I wanted to really show that I'm knowledgeable on a lot of things, especially music and movies. Uh, I went to school to be a sound engineer, so kind of a little bit of inside baseball for you guys there on that. So it's just, I got a lot of life experience too. I was in the Marine Corps. Been through a lot of things in life, so it's kind of a good place for people to come and ask for advice. You name it. Just wanted it to be more of a channel for people to hang out. Yeah, we're getting there, carpet. We still got a lot of work to do, but we're getting there. I think that his mouth is a little wonky looking, but at the end of the day, his mouth is wonky looking in general, so it's kind of hard to judge on what exactly I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to do some more detail in here, and then behind the teeth up here, I think we're just going to black out. Just give him another tooth here just to have it. But yeah, I think we'll black out back here so that way the teeth stick out a little more. And then as well, we don't have to worry about what's actually behind his mouth. And again, I had said this earlier, but my golden rule is when in doubt, black it out. If you messed it up or you're not sure what to draw there, um, just use Sam's golden rule and grab a marker and just black it out. I plan on doing more streams and things like that. So if this is something that interests you guys, I definitely can do more of them. I had way more of them planned in the past, but my setup just did not allow it. But I have it mounted and everything now to where I can draw and record at the same time. So, and just, I guess, a little off topic. I hit 500 subs today, so I've been doing YouTube now for what, 3 months, going on 3 months, and I've already hit 500 subs. So that's I'm extremely thankful to everybody that's stopped and watched the content and everything like that. Never in a million years did I think I would ever have 500 subs, let alone 10 subs. So starting a YouTube channel was something that I've always been extremely hesitant on doing. I have so many interests. I skateboard, I play drums, I play guitar. I played like 20 different instruments total. I love movies, you name it. So there's just so many things that I have interest in, and it's awesome to see that a lot of people share the same interest with me, and hopefully we do a lot more than just your generic comic book stuff. I want this channel to be whatever the hell I want it to be. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. It's like if I want to talk about Powerpuff Girls, we're going to talk about Powerpuff Girls. If I want to talk about Godzilla, we're going to talk about Godzilla. If I want to talk about Bob Dylan, we're going to talk about Bob Dylan. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna let the algorithm dictate how I run my shit. Uh, yeah, so let's go ahead and just keep laying out these blacks. Probably gonna have to put in some whites. Real easy to do with some scratchiness here with the pen. Doing this so it doesn't look as clean or like a straight edge. It's a ball of energy or a whatever you want to call it, a blast of energy. So it shouldn't look perfect. But as well, we just kind of like have lights coming through his gills and all of that. And then we're just gonna take our trusty paper towel and wipe that down a little bit so it's not as harsh. Give it more of a gray tone to it. Just gonna keep laying down textures for his skin. And we'll get to a point to where we'll start making the skin look more dynamic and have more shading in other spots than others and things like that. But right now, it is more about getting that nasty, scratchy sort of look that Shin Godzilla has, and then doing the work on top of that. So you have to get a good base. And there doesn't need to be any rhyme or reason to it because, Shin Godzilla, he's kind of like a eldritch cosmic Godzilla god is how I envision him. So just kind of like a nasty, bloodborne style of creature. Just very wet and nasty looking. So that's kind of the effect that we're going for. Just takes a lot of pen strokes. So he's getting there. He's got to keep working at it, and then we'll have to do a lot of work around his mouth. His mouth kind of looks pretty wonky, so we're gonna have to do some work there, some finagling to get it to where it looks right. And I don't think that's an instance to where you could really black it out because it's too much of a big spot and there's already enough black around the gill area or the cheek area, whatever you want to call that. So it really can't cheat it. take a look at the comments here we've got going on. Just gonna grab a quick drink. I got a preview of the stream in front of me, and I'm looking at the very start. It's just funny seeing the drawing in such an infancy. It's like a little cute garter snake looking dude. Again, that's just something that's in the style of my drawing, is the cartooniness of things. I like really bold outlines and adding in a lot of personality into my stuff. So, like I was saying earlier, Craig McCracken is like a top guy for me. So like those old Hanna-Barbera 90s guys. So Jindy T. I'm not going to try to say his last name. The Dexter's Lab, Hotel Transylvania guy, and all of that. He did Samurai Jack. So a lot of that stuff really speaks to me because I think the simplicity is what really sticks out in my mind. And obviously they had done that because they're drawing cartoons, and they did the drawings themselves probably should be as basic as possible for the animation. But I'm a big Steve Rude, Alex Toth guy, and as you guys probably are not aware, Alex Toth is the creator of Space Ghost, and he worked at Hanna-Barbera, so a lot of those cartoon designs and that aesthetic all came from him. So a lot of that I implement into my work is complicity, or what should I say? It's like complexity through simplicity. All right, so we got a pretty good baseline now, I think, for all the cross hatching that we're going to be doing, especially in the face. So now we can get to the point to where we're going to be start doing more refinement in terms of the actual shading and where we're going to be putting it down and doing it at. So that way the image looks more dynamic, not as flat. So, going to go ahead and start doing that. Get those lines put down on. And then here, because this is coming out a little bit off the edge, we actually want to do a little highlight of white coming off, and we could probably bolden that line a little bit so that way that highlight sticks out more. There, like that. And then you want to, there we go. So then it gives it that dimension. And we will also want to, I wonder if we could, no, I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to get that ambitious today. So yeah, let's go ahead and start putting in some more of this detail for like the shading. So that way he doesn't look as flat. So like here, probably could come down and whiten out. Widen out some more. And let's make it go down to this gill section. It just kind of looks like a flow. And that's something that I picked up from Steve Root, actually, is um, the ability to make things look fluid. I think he is the master at that. And if you guys don't know who Steve Root is or haven't studied Steve Root, I would highly recommend to do so. Just look up Nexus, the comic Nexus, and just take a look at the first couple issues of that. I can grab. So I keep this by my drawing desk at all times. This is the Steve Root 2023 sketchbook, and actually, as we speak, he has the 2025 sketchbook up on Kickstarter. So if you guys want to go back that, you can. Um, but the reason why I wanted to pull this out and show it to you guys is I think he's a master at showing fluidity in his drawings. So when you look at his cloth and fabric and things like that, like this, for instance, I try to take that away even when I'm doing like skin texture. So you see what I mean with like these folds and how he highlights everything. That is the effect that essentially I am going for when we are looking at this the Shin Godzilla and how I'm going to start getting that texture on his skin. Okay. Now I'm still kind of up in the air on what the hell I want to do with his mouth. That is up for debate. I might just end up closing it, to be honest with you, just a little more, so that way uh, it doesn't look like as weird. I don't know, like the shape of it. I don't think that I opened up the top of his mouth enough compared to what it is in the reference image that I'm using, but whatever. We'll work with it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get it to work. So yeah, these were the little like vein areas I was drawing. So make sure those don't get messed up. We'll have to come back through with the correction fluid and lay down a lot of that white, so that way it'll pop. Let's just go ahead and do that. So again, if anybody is just joined and is new, this is just Pentel correction fluid from Japan. There. So then we kind of have like that light energy sort of look coming out from behind his gills, and we'll lay more black out around that, so that way it sticks out more as well. Because this all needs to be like black right here. This marker is like Dunzo. Let's go grab a new one. There we go. Like I said, that correction fluid, it dries so fast, so can work right on top of it pretty much. It doesn't really make a difference. And as well, I think that it gives it more of a dynamic look when you do kind of ink over top of it a little bit, because it doesn't look as man-made, kind of more natural. And then we'll probably go over top of it and add in some like cracks and stuff going over it, so that way it kind of looks like skin and stuff, and it has a little bit more dimension. But we gotta let this dry out a little more. Pop into the comments. See what we got going on here. We'll get going again. I think we are just going to keep laying down black. The nice things with these Pigma Architect professional ink brushes is that they lay down so much ink. It saves you a lot of time, but that's the downside, is that they lay down a lot of ink. So you got to be buying a lot of pens. They dry out super quick. Then we'll have to make some like skin texture and stuff on his back there so it doesn't look as weird. But let's go ahead and start adding in some highlights here. So that way it doesn't look as weird. It's coming off a straight black onto like that skin texture. And I will do my little handy trick I showed you guys earlier. Just want to lay down some white ink, gel pen, and then you can grab like a paper towel, toilet paper, whatever you have, and you just kind of wipe it. You don't have to do it really hard, because if you do it too hard, like the gel comes off, so you just want to do it real light and just blend it in to get it to work properly. And then in the mouth, we probably could do some spike action. So let's try to do like spikes that are kind of like on his back, on his jaw. And we will color that in. There. And we'll have to kind of keep it going, actually. Down towards the bottom here. Keep it from looking weird. Yeah, it looks better for sure. And then we'll just have to lay down blacks behind all of our goofy looking, I don't even know what you want to call it, little cheek, nasty little things coming off of them. Try to keep the look of the energy moving forward. While trying to get this to look nasty. Once we lay in some white detail too, it'll look real nasty. We probably should lay down thicker line as well. Oh, there it is. On this. So that way it looks a little better there. And then we want the highlight on the front. And we can probably grab the gel pen. And there is black ink, sprayed everywhere. So when we do this black ink on top of that, or sorry, this white ink on top of that, it creates kind of like a grayish look, and that's kind of what I want to do. Because Shin Godzilla has like some dirty looking teeth, So that's the direction I want to do, or go for. And then down here, it just needs to be straight black. This just needs to be blacked out here. And this is where I kind of decided to do those little, I don't even know what you want to call them, little like tendril attachments that he's got. And then his jaw. Circle around here. Gonna have to give him some bigger teeth in the back. Give him some in the front here. Then we gotta outline those. Oh, I grabbed the wrong pen. Where is it? There it is. So that way they stick out. Like so. He's coming together. Hey, how's it going, Gamera? I'm a big Gamera guy too. I might draw a Gamera at some point, But let's keep laying down some of the skin detail. And then we'll go in and start cleaning up more of the actual drawing, clean up some of his teeth, clean up the fins a little bit, and I think that's where we'll probably start calling it. Probably about another half hour to 40 minutes here will be my guess. So let's go ahead and start getting all that nastiness in. So these are kind of like skin folds that I'm drawing. And we will black those out. But it's just to kind of illustrate that, he's got dimension in his skin. Probably should like black out down here to show that, there's shadow underneath it. Have the shadow get bigger as we get further down. And then same on this side, but not as much because the light source would be coming from here. So perfect. Grab a thicker marker. We got to give it some dimension. Like it's kind of popping up. And then we would go in and give it some white highlights. And we'll kind of do that towards the back because a lot of this up here is going to be black. Yeah, this is mostly going to be black up here as well. Give it some more black over here. And give it some white highlight. Same thing over here, just give it some white highlights. All right, so we're just doing like a gradient here, getting to this spot. And like that trick I showed you guys earlier with the gel pen, we'll go in with the gel pen, lay down some crazy highlight looking stuff. You want to wipe it, so that way it's not a super strong white. And then as well, you can rub your paper and it'll give you a texture on your inks. Yeah. Beep, beep, beep. Okay. You probably should lay down some black. Try to make it more scratchy looking. Just cleaning up the rest of the skin. Gotta keep working on it, making that texture right. We gotta go real dark up here. Pretty much it's to black. We're getting there. We have his skin definitely in a spot closer to, the color that you want it. It's definitely a lot more of a black. So you just want to keep laying down lines over top of lines over top of lines. To give it that scratchy look. Without it being too black, too gray. It's got to be perfect. We're getting there. He's probably got another 20 minutes left on him or so. Probably call it there because I think that he's getting in a good spot now. Our main man here. I'm gonna clean up some of this white line stuff here. Might have to actually pull out the correction pen with this. Do 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 do. I think he needs spikier spikes. So we're gonna fix that. Make them more sharp. Dangerous looking. All right. It's got that on there. Now let's go back and touch up the teeth. So that way they stick out more. We'll probably go back in with the gel pen. Lay some more white down on said teeth. Awesome. And we just got to keep working on the skin. Take a look at the comments here. I haven't checked them in a minute. Got nothing. All right. Just gonna keep laying down skin texture. I'll move to a little bit of a thicker pen. Speed up the process here a little bit. If anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to ask. More than happy to oblige, whatever you guys want to talk about. Again, the skin texture on Shin is just very random, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be perfect. Starting to think that we have him in a pretty decent spot. Better than before. Just kind of black out some areas here. This was a skin fold back here. Just gonna work and kind of blend that in a little better. Now I want to say We're definitely getting there on the skin front. Let's see. Just going to do some more adjusting up here so that way it looks a little more natural. And the shading. I was just a little bit too big. It was still bothering me. I'm going to close that up a little more. Alright, so how we're going to do the rest of the skin texture. I'm going to go in, lay down a really thin black on top of what we got. Again, doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to be removing a lot of this, so it doesn't really matter. So that way this gives it some color tone to the drawing. Now here where the fun part comes in. A lot of elbow grease. And we'll have to lay down some, probably rub it off a little bit. I'm sorry if this is unpleasant on your ears, but it's the technique. Lay down some more lineage down here. It's kind of bare. Same thing here. It's kind of bare. It's a little bit color. And I think we just need to run across a couple of second lines here. Make it look kind of crackly. So that way it kind of looks like that energy on the side of his body. I mean, honestly, I think he's in a pretty good spot. He could use, a couple cleanup lines, little bit more work on it. But I think in terms of what we're doing here on the stream, I think this is a good place to call it. So I think that's what we are going to do. As end up calling the stream here, I am just going to lay down some white, kind of let these fins, blend in a little better with his background, or sorry, his back. I don't want it to look perfect, but just give it that illusion. That he's got spikies. Cool beans. I think I'm just going to go ahead and wipe that off, so that way it's not as bright. Probably could give him some spikes, like some texture over on the head, some spikes, bumps, and things like that. But I think in terms of what we have here today, I think this is a pretty good stopping point. I'm just going to go ahead and sign this real quick. And there we go. That's my signature. So yeah, I hope you guys had fun watching me draw this. This was just a quick little Shin Godzilla I wanted to throw together. He's been on my mind a lot lately, so I figured, hey, just gonna go ahead and give him a quick little draw. So yeah, I probably gonna end up doing way more live streams like this in the future. So you definitely can look forward to doing so. Hey, thanks, JJ. Yeah, I got a bunch of drawing stuff on my channel, so if you want to take a look at my shorts and whatnot, there's a lot of drawing stuff there. But I'm probably gonna end up doing some more drawings or live streams here in the future. I might just go ahead and pop one on tomorrow. I'm also going to be doing a comic haul, probably on Wednesday or Thursday. That's going to be coming out. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's plan on doing another stream tomorrow. We're gonna start it at let's say 11 Central. And actually, I have stuff to do tomorrow. So now that I think about it, we might not be doing it until later in the evening. So let's probably call it for like around 1 o'clock Central or so. We'll probably start it. I'll put the preview up for it, and then we'll get into it. What we're going to be drawing, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll figure out what we're going to be drawing tomorrow. And then yeah, just keep an eye out for the stream, and then just make sure you put the notifications on so that way you're notified when I go up tomorrow. And then yeah, I guess we'll talk to you then. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks for talking comics. We'll see you.